In the long days of modern life, when the mind is stretched thin by noise, expectations, and countless unnamed burdens, we sometimes forget that there is still a place we can return to the quiet that lives within us. A small yet boundless space where we can breathe more slowly, loosen our grip, and look at the world with gentler eyes. And tonight, I'd like to invite you to step into that journey. Not one that leads through crowded streets, but one that drifts through the vast universe above our heads. Because in the immensity of the stars, we sometimes see ourselves more clearly. Someone once said, "We are all made of star stuff." If that is true, then perhaps every mystery of the cosmos is whispering something about the nature of being human, about our worries, our longings, our quiet questions that follow us each night before sleep takes us away. So in this video, I will share with you 100 small stories about the universe. Not in the hurried tone of scientific lectures, but in a slow, steady breath. In the softness of the night, in the quiet way the stars seem to speak to one another softly, deeply, just enough for you to listen and let your mind drift into a state of calm. Allow yourself to loosen, to rest. Let the universe lull you with its vastness. And perhaps within these tiny tales of distant galaxies, you will find a fragment of peace you once set down somewhere along the way. Tonight, as you close the door on the noise of a long day, let me tell you about some of the strangest wonders the universe still keeps hidden within its silence. When the sky darkens, when the final movements of thought begin to slow, the human mind opens itself like a doorway, leading into countless worlds we have never touched. In that gentle darkness, you may hear a sound so thin like the whispering of stars. Someone once said, "The cosmos is within us. We are made of star stuff." Carl Sagan, Cosmos. If that is true, then every distant mystery out there is also telling a part of our own story. Let us begin with something small yet wonderfully peculiar: moons. The idea of a moon having its own satellite was once dismissed as playfulness of the imagination. In the familiar mathematics of orbital mechanics, a moon is merely something that circles a center, not a center that other things might circle around. But traces found around Rhea and Iapetus of Saturn began to plant a quiet doubt. Could the universe be reminding us that all boundaries are temporary? Moons are like tiny souls gently cradled inside a larger soul. And sometimes they exist simply to teach us that no structure is absolute. Just as in life, there are things we once believed impossible, yet time, with its slow patience, reveals their true shape. Our next step takes us to a very different image: rogue planets' worlds drifting through the endless darkness of space. Without a star to warm them, without a place to call home, these planets seem severed from all possibility of life. And yet strangely, science suggests that through internal geothermal heat, they may still hold silent oceans within. They are like those who have drifted away from the familiar orbit of their lives, sometimes through loss, sometimes through choice. But even as they wander through darkness, deep inside, they may still be carrying a light no one can see. Rogue planets remind us that not all forms of life require an external sun. Sometimes it takes only a very small flame placed deep within. As your breathing softens, let us journey farther toward the center of the Milky Way, where physicists have found something called an antimatter fountain. An invisible fountain where positrons stream upward like rays of light flowing against the grain of ordinary matter. A place no one yet understands. Why is it there? Where does it come from? He says, it tied to black holes or to dark matter. But beneath these unanswered questions lies a lesson deeply human. The universe is built from opposing pairs: matter and antimatter, light and shadow, order and chaos. So is the human mind. Sigmund Freud once wrote, "Where it was, their ego shall be." New introductory lectures on psychoanalysis. Within us, there are always unconscious forces rising, impulses not easily named, yet they are the reservoirs of our truest vitality. The antimatter fountain reminds us, do not fear the darkness within. It is part of the very architecture the universe used to create you. Leaving the galactic center, we pass by another phenomenon, one that can bend even light itself: the double quasar. Light from a single quasar, when passing through the gravity of a galaxy, is curved into two separate images, two that are one that appears as two. Is this not how memory works as well? We gaze back at an event in our lives and believe it to be clear, yet sometimes memory bends that light. We see two stories: our story and the story of the event itself. In philosophy, this is called subjectivity, the blind spot we cannot escape when seeing the world through the lens of our inner life. Nietzsche wrote, "There are no facts, only interpretations." Nachlass. The universe simply reenacts what our minds do every day, bending the light of truth, creating doubled images. But the beauty is this: even distortion can lead us to a deeper question about the nature of perception. And finally, when we touch the most extreme of cosmic events, we encounter the hypernova like SN 2006 GY, a stellar explosion far beyond anything physics once believed possible. A star so immense that when it died, its light outshone the entire galaxy it lived in. Moments like that in the human life are rare, but not impossible. Moments when a truth, a heartbreak, a choice erupts beyond control, and in the ashes we find ourselves irrevocably changed. The universe teaches us this: some things can only be born after an explosion. As you close your eyes, feel that each of these strange phenomena is not merely the story of distant celestial bodies. They are your stories, stories of inner movement, of wounds, longings, and the silent cycles every soul must pass through. In the long night, as your thoughts begin to slow, you may hear the faintest call of the cosmos telling you that you are not alone, that your chaos has its own structure, that your wandering too has its quiet order, and that even the strangest objects out there are still moving in their own rhythms, slow and patient, just like you learning to breathe, to let go, to return to yourself. Let the universe lull you with its vastness, and perhaps in the soft space between two breaths, you will discover that the strangest thing of all is not the stars, but the human heart itself, always finding its way home even when lost in the infinite. As our journey drifts away from the universe's anomalous objects, the curious moons, the lonely wandering planets, the mysterious fountains of antimatter, perhaps a very light feeling still lingers within you. A sense that every object out there, even those billions of light years away, is whispering something about the depths of the human soul. And while that thought continues to float gently like specks of stardust suspended in the air, I want to invite you to travel farther, to step into regions of the cosmos where even galaxies become riddles beyond explanation. Structures so immense, they silence the mind, leaving us with the soft realization that sometimes the strangest forms open the doorway to a very beautiful kind of contemplation. Nietzsche once wrote in Thus Spoke Zarathustra, "One must still have chaos in oneself to be able to give birth to a dancing star." The universe, with the peculiar galaxies we're about to explore, seems to have carried that sentence in its heart for billions of years. Let us begin with Omega Centauri, a star cluster many astronomers describe as too big to be just a cluster. From Earth, Omega Centauri appears as a glowing sphere in the night sky, yet a closer look reveals millions of stars, more than any other cluster in the Milky Way. And its structure refuses to follow the usual rules. Its stars were born at different times. It rotates like a miniature galaxy, and most importantly, its size surpasses what a typical star cluster could ever become. These clues lead many scientists to believe Omega Centauri was likely once the core of a small galaxy, a galaxy long ago swallowed by our Milky Way. When you hear this, do you feel a faintly familiar image rising within? The image of old memories of pieces of yourself once devoured by life, by the upheavals of time, yet their cores remain still spinning, still radiant. Omega Centauri resembles the deepest part of the mind, where memories do not vanish, they transform. And while your thoughts are as gentle as a still lake, I want to take you to an even stranger structure, Hoag's object, a nearly perfect ring galaxy, an ancient golden core at the center encircled by a luminous blue ring of young stars. The universe rarely creates perfection, yet Hoag's object floats there like a celestial ring suspended in space, its origin unknown, its formation unexplained, its purpose a mystery. Many theories have been proposed: galactic collisions, gravitational instabilities, oscillations in space-time, but all remain mere conjectures. Its existence carries a kind of philosophical elegance. There are things we cannot explain, but we can quietly appreciate. Just like sadness or joy or those unnamed moments that pass through us, not every moment asks to be understood, some simply ask to be felt. Carl Jung once wrote, "There is no coming to consciousness without pain." Ion. Perhaps the strange perfection of Hoag's object is a mirror to that truth. Beauty sometimes emerges from upheavals no one witnessed. And then, as we wander deeper into the cosmos, we encounter Stephan's quintet, a group of 5 galaxies famous not just for their breathtaking Hubble portrait, but for the paradoxes that puzzled scientists for decades. At first glance, they appear to be dancing together, caught in a slow gravitational spiral. But measurements revealed one of the 5 galaxies is actually 10 times farther away than the rest, and yet it appears to be touching them. Its light is bent in ways that cast doubt on redshift models, the very foundation of cosmic distance measurement. Stefan's quintet became an open question, a graceful paradox. Could the universe be reminding us that what we see is not always what is true when we look at an event from our past, a sorrow, an old wound? We often believe we are seeing it directly. But like light passing through a galaxy, our memories bend, shaped by emotion, stretched by time, softened or sharpened by hope and fear. Stefan's quintet teaches us this misperception is not a flaw, it is a natural condition of being alive. Sartre once wrote, "In being and nothingness man is condemned to be free." Freedom compels us to choose a lens through which to see the world, and that very choice shapes how the world is reflected back to us. Stefan's quintet is not merely a cluster of galaxies. It is an emblem of how we interpret reality through the fogged glass of our own minds. Now, having traveled through 3 extraordinary cosmic structures, each one like a fragment of the universe's own soul, you may notice your breath growing slower, and that is natural. There is always a unique stillness when we gaze upon things beyond understanding. A stillness born not from the mind, but from the heart, from the sense of standing before something too vast, too distant, too beautiful to require an explanation. Omega Centauri whispers what you lost has not vanished, it has merely changed form. Hoag's object reminds you perfection sometimes rises from chaos unseen. Stefan's quintet shows you the world is never seen directly, it is seen through you. And as these quiet reflections settle gently within your thoughts, you may feel the particular depth of the universe, a depth capable of soothing every tired corner of your being. The universe is never in a hurry. It moves in perfect silence, guided by rhythms no one rushes. And in watching it, we learn to become softer with ourselves. Marcus Aurelius wrote in Meditations, "Dwell on the beauty of life. Watch the stars and see yourself running with them." As you look upon these strange galaxies, remember that you too are running with them slowly, softly in a cosmos that is both immense and intimately familiar. Take a deep, gentle breath. Let your mind drift toward those quiet spaces. And when you are ready, we will continue to the universe's unexplainable physical phenomena, await like tender riddles offered to those who dream their way through the night. After wandering through strange galaxies where Omega Centauri spins like a forgotten memory, where Hoag's object holds a perfection no one can decipher, and where Stefan's quintet reminds us that even light can deceive, perhaps you feel a soft quiet settling within you, a sense that the universe is opening its doors one by one, guiding us from what can be explained to what cannot. From structures we can see with our eyes to mysteries revealed only through subtle disturbances in the fabric of physics. These are phenomena before which even scientists must stand with humility, much like how a person faces their own sorrow, knowing it is real, yet never fully able to articulate it. And tonight, in the slow rhythm of your breath, we will step gently into these strange tales. The lithium problem, when the universe refuses to behave as it should. According to Big Bang Theory, the amount of lithium in the universe should fall within a precise range. Yet in reality, the amount observed is much lower. The discrepancy is so significant that it resembles the human mood between what we calculate in our minds and what we actually feel. There is always a gap that resists explanation. The lithium problem whispers even our best models falter. Just as in life, even our most careful plans may fail to lead us where we intended to go. When I think of this mystery, I'm reminded of Kierkegaard's words in The Concept of Anxiety. Life can only be understood backwards, but it must be lived forwards. The missing lithium is a trace of the past, yet we can only infer it from where we stand now in a universe still full of shadows. It is much like you. There are parts of your past you still do not fully understand, yet you continue to live gently with all that you are. Ultra-high energy cosmic rays, light bullets that break every limit. Some cosmic rays are so powerful that they exceed the upper limits allowed by current physics. Imagine a particle smaller than an atom carrying more energy than the most powerful machines humans have ever built. These particles are like sudden thoughts, tiny yet capable of piercing the calm within us. They arrive from unknown origins, perhaps supermassive black holes, perhaps the dawn of the universe, perhaps something we have not yet imagined. But they also carry a truth deeply aligned with Jung's insight. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. Ion. We do not understand these rays, just as we do not understand the deepest impulses within ourselves. But that lack of understanding is not frightening. It is the doorway to curiosity, and curiosity is part of being alive. Ultra-high energy cosmic rays remind you that you carry reservoirs of power within you that you have not yet met. And perhaps in a still moment like this, you can begin to sense them. The flyby anomaly. When a spacecraft swings past Earth and speeds up for reasons no one knows, at times as spacecraft skim past our planet, they accelerate in ways no current equations can explain. Tiny deviations, just enough for scientists to murmur, "This shouldn't happen yet." It did. The flyby anomaly reminds us that unseen forces shape our lives, that the turns we believe we control sometimes accelerate without warning, pulling us into unexpected directions. It is difficult not to think of Marcus Aurelius in Meditations, accept whatever comes to you woven in the pattern of your destiny, not as resignation, but as recognition in life as in the cosmos. There are movements we cannot control, but we can learn to travel with them gently, with less resistance. The flyby anomaly is a mirror. It shows us that even familiar paths may hold surprises. And sometimes those surprises open a new horizon. M82X2, the star that should not exist yet, burns fiercely in the dark. By theory, a neutron star has a maximum brightness, the Eddington limit. If it shines beyond that threshold, radiation pressure should blow away its matter, preventing its existence. But M82X2 breaks every rule. It shines hundreds of times brighter than theory allows. Something impossible yet undeniable, quietly emitting its light. Do you see a part of yourself in it? Those moments when you believed you could not continue, yet you continued. Those moments when you thought you had reached your limit, yet your heart widened just a little more. Albert Camus wrote in The Myth of Sisyphus, "In the depth of winter, I finally learned that within me there lay an invincible summer." M82X2 is that invincible summer, a gentle reassurance that you are larger than the limits you imagine. You shine beyond what the theories of your own self would ever allow. When we place these four strange physical phenomena side by side, a deeply human truth emerges. The lithium problem teaches us that some absences cannot be filled with numbers. Ultra-high energy cosmic rays remind us of unnamed energies waiting in the dark. The flyby anomaly shows us that even the orbits of our lives may shift unexpectedly beyond explanation. M82X2 tells us that limits are often the whispers of fear, not the boundaries of our nature. Together they form a lesson about what it means to be human. We live in a universe where the absurd and the beautiful walk hand in hand, where the impossible quietly becomes possible, where mysteries exist not to be solved, but to make us softer, more humble toward ourselves. And as you take a slow breath tonight, feel the stillness spreading like a warm tide. You are in a universe full of questions, but you are also in a journey full of light. A journey where the strange moons of the solar system will soon tell you stories of distortion, of frozen memories, and of orbital paths both fragile and enduring, much like the human heart itself. As we step away from the unexplainable physical phenomena that continue to gently challenge the human mind, perhaps you feel a very particular stillness rising within you. A stillness born not from answers, but from understanding that not every question must be solved. Some mysteries simply ask to be sat beside, to be witnessed, to be breathed with. In this way, the universe resembles the human soul. We do not need to understand everything in order to continue living. We only need to learn how to walk more softly, more kindly among the things we do not yet know. And as your breath deepens, just a little, dims, just a little, as though moving in harmony with the quiet oscillations of space. I'd like to invite you onward to the strange moons of our own solar system, each carrying a different story to tell stories about boundaries, about division, about fracture and deviation, and about the peculiar relationships between worlds that forever face one another. In this atmosphere, allow your mind to open like a half-ajar door, letting the universe drift inward, gentle as moonlight. Iapetus, the moon with two faces, Saturn's moon. Iapetus is one of the most bewildering worlds we have ever seen. One hemisphere is dark as coal, the other bright as snow. The division is so stark, so absolute it cannot be ignored. And between these two halves runs a massive ridge encircling the moon like a miniature planetary belt. Iapetus is the perfect emblem of duality, a concept touched by both Eastern and Western philosophy, light and shadow consciousness, and the unconscious, the self we display and the self we hide. Carl Jung wrote in Ion No Tree, "It is said can grow to heaven unless its roots reach down to hell." Iapetus, with its sharp contrast, seems to affirm this: every entity that exists contains two halves, one turned toward the light and one quietly facing the dark. When you look at Iapetus, you are looking at yourself, the parts you are proud of and the parts you hesitate to confront, the things you share and the things only you know. Far from here, a moon is turning silently between two polarities, a soft reminder that no one needs to be perfect. We only need to be honest with what lives within us. Miranda, the moon of shattered pieces. Leaving Saturn and drifting toward Uranus, we meet another world. Miranda, perhaps the strangest moon in the solar system. Miranda looks like a planet that once broke apart and was reassembled from mismatched fragments. 20-kilometer cliffs, terrains, torn in half, planes lifted and misplaced, everything about it feels like a memory that has been fractured. It is difficult not to imagine that Miranda once endured a violent event, the way a heart sometimes must break before it can rebuild itself into a new shape. Nietzsche wrote in The Gay Science, "You must have chaos within you to give birth to a dancing star." Miranda is the embodiment of this, formed from upheaval, sculpted by rupture, yet carrying a strange tenderness. Because Miranda is not ugly, it is beautiful in a deeply human way, the beauty of survival, of holding together broken pieces and still circling its world with quiet determination. Miranda reminds you imperfect fragments can still form a singular whole, and sometimes it is precisely the uneven, the misaligned, the displaced pieces that make your story uniquely yours. Phobos, a destiny of falling or breaking apart. From Miranda's fractured beauty, we move to the fragility of Phobos, one of Mars's tiny moons. Phobos is slowly being drawn inward toward Mars. In 30-50 million years, it will either crash into the surface or be torn apart into a temporary ring. The fate of Phobos reads like a melancholic poem about the things we cannot hold forever. Relationships that must eventually change, attachments that slip from our grasp, things we believed were stable but were quietly moving all along. Marcus Aurelius wrote in Meditations, "All is flux. Everything is in constant change." Phobos reminds us that nothing is permanent. Even an orbit that feels unshakable can shift slowly, silently unnoticed. And then one day, it can no longer hold itself together. It falls or it breaks. But the most beautiful thing about Phobos is not its fate. It is the way it continues to orbit, patient and quiet, as though it knows that endings too belong to the journey. Charon, when two worlds forever face each other, traveling farther into Pluto's frozen realm, we encounter the rare double system of Pluto and Charon. They are tidally locked to each other. Pluto always faces Charon. Charon always faces Pluto. They spin together, move together, like two ancient souls in an endless dance. Neither world dominates the other. Neither serves as an absolute center. They exist in a delicate balance, a relationship sustained by two separate beings creating a shared orbit. It is difficult not to think of Rilke's words in Letters to a Young Poet. Love consists of this two solitudes that protect and touch and greet each other. Pluto and Charon show that connection is not merging into one, but two distinct existences that honor one another. Always facing, never consuming. Perhaps this is a lesson for human relationships as well, staying far enough apart not to dissolve into each other, yet close enough never to drift away. When we step back and look at these four extraordinary worlds, Iapetus, Miranda, Phobos, Charon, we see that each moon carries a deeply human truth. Iapetus speaks of the divided self. Miranda speaks of rebirth through rupture. Phobos speaks of impermanence. Charon speaks of connection. And all of them in their own ways move through the profound silence of the cosmos. So do you. Whatever stories you carry, mismatched fragments, bright and shadowed sides. Things that are falling or might fall, relationships orbiting close but not too close. You are still moving. You are still alive. You are still searching for your own orbit. Breathe softly, and as stillness begins to spread within you, you will sense what the universe has been saying all along. No one is ever truly lost. We are only turning in the rhythm that belongs to us. In this moment, as your eyes grow heavier, allow these moons to drift further away. And when you are ready, we will step into the nearby star systems that await us, bringing stories of hope, of life, and of the fragile possibilities of a distant future. From the stillness of that rare cosmic relationship, perhaps you feel your mind slowing yet another beat. A natural softening, as though the universe is soothing you with images both distant and strangely familiar: fragility, division, fracture, connection. Though these belong to cold worlds far from Earth, they reflect the human interior with surprising clarity. And as you allow that inner gaze to widen, we begin to approach a question humanity has carried with it wherever it goes: is there life out there? It is not merely a scientific question. It is a question of loneliness, of hope, of longing for something that resembles us, or something utterly unlike us, simply to remind us that we have never been alone. And so Part 5 will guide you through the star systems nearest to Earth, places whose light takes only a handful of years or a few decades to reach our eyes. Small systems filled with possibility, like candles flickering in the dark, perhaps protecting worlds where life might be breathing quietly. In the hush of tonight, let us step inside these other homes of the universe, the star systems closest to our own. Ross 128 is a red dwarf star, more than 11 light-years from Earth. Unlike many red dwarfs, which flare violently, Ross 128 is relatively gentle, and that very gentleness makes its planet Ross 128b a promising candidate for life. Gentleness is rare in the cosmos. We speak of stars with words like eruption, destruction, scorching. But Ross 128 is different. It is like a small lamp on a silent desk, warm enough to comfort, not fierce enough to burn. It brings to mind Rumi's words in The Essential Rumi: "What you seek is seeking you." If we are searching for life, perhaps the universe is also offering places of quiet, where life could grow slowly, in peace. Epsilon Eridani, 10.5 light-years away, is young and restless. It has dusty belts, large planets, and possibly a habitable zone. But its youth comes with turbulence, strong magnetic storms, fierce stellar winds, and an environment in constant shift. Epsilon Eridani is the cosmic image of youth, full of potential, yet unstable. A world around it might be lush or torn apart by radiation. This brings to mind Nietzsche in Beyond Good and Evil. He who has a why to live can bear almost anyhow. If life exists there, it must be far more resilient than life on Earth. And that resilience would make its existence beautiful, not for its ease, but for its ability to endure. Teegarden Star is a tiny red dwarf, barely massive enough to be called a star. Yet around it are two planets in the habitable zone worlds that may have liquid water and perhaps life. In the universe, the smallest things often carry the greatest hope. Just as in life, we sometimes assume the small cannot matter, and then those very small things open new horizons. Kierkegaard once wrote, "In either-or life is not a problem to be solved, but a reality to be experienced." Teegarden's star is not an answer, but an invitation to find light in the small and quiet places. Only 8 light-years away, Wolf 359 is one of the faintest stars in the sky, a tiny red dwarf, fragile and often eruptive, yet still capable of hosting planets. Wolf 359 is like the introspective souls we often overlook, quiet on the surface, but rich and complicated within. A planet around Wolf 359 might be scorched one day and serene the next, a life that must learn to exist within shifting rhythms. Camus wrote in The Myth of Sisyphus, "The struggle itself toward the heights is enough to fill a man's heart." If life exists near Wolf 359, perhaps it shares that same heart, a heart that climbs even when each day is a challenge. Tau Ceti is older than the Sun, quieter, but surrounded by a dense belt of comets. A habitable world in that system would face constant bombardment by debris. Tau Ceti is like a turbulent past that has settled down but still carries its scars. It tells a story of endurance that a star system need not be perfect to shelter life. Rilke once wrote in Letters to a Young Poet, Let everything happen to you, beauty and terror. Just keep going. No feeling is final. Any life around Tau Ceti would have long understood this truth. And finally, we come to the closest system of all Alpha Centauri and Proxima Centauri. Nowhere in the cosmos lies closer, and nowhere lights up our hope quite the same. Proxima b, only 4.2 light-years away, orbits within the habitable zone of its red dwarf star. It might have water and atmosphere and the quiet chemistry needed for life. Though its star flares dangerously, Proxima b remains the neighbor humanity dreams of visiting first. Alpha Centauri A and B twin stars, much like our Sun, will likely be the first destination of future interstellar probes. Perhaps somewhere around these stars, there is a world breathing softly like your own breath in this moment. As you listen to the stories of Ross, 128 Epsilon Eridani T Gardens, Starwolf 359, Tau Ceti, and Alpha Centauri, you may notice that each star system resembles a kind of soul, some gentle, some storm-tossed, some small but full of hope, some quiet and withdrawn, some carrying long scars, some drawing us irresistibly closer. The nearby stars do not only raise the question of alien life, they raise a question about ourselves. The universe never asks us, "Are you intelligent?" It only asks, "Are you listening?" Let your breath soften. Let the vastness of these neighboring stars lull you into rest, where the nearby star systems shimmer like small hopes scattered across the night. Where Ross 128 is gentle, Epsilon Eridani tempestuous T Garden star quiet. Wolf 359, solitary Tau, Ceti scarred, and Alpha Centauri a promise for the future. Perhaps something very subtle is rising within you. A feeling that life, or the possibility of life, is not confined to small, intimate worlds, but is instead a natural expression of the vast cosmos itself. As you take a slow breath, you may sense it. The universe is not an empty span. It is a body that breathes, and we in our tiny corner are cells within that living body. This is the moment when our journey widens so far that ordinary comparisons dissolve. For Part 6 no longer speaks of individual planets, moons, or stars, but of structures so immense that even human imagination falls silent before them. When you are ready, allow your mind to drift into these colossal dimensions where the walls of galaxies stretch across billions of light years like the branching veins of the universe. You live inside Laniakea. Though we often think of Earth as home, or the solar system as home, or even the Milky Way as home, all of that is only a single room in a structure thousands of times greater. The Laniakea supercluster, containing over 100,000 galaxies, is the vast cosmic archipelago in which our Milky Way resides. If the universe is an ocean, Laniakea is a great sea, its galaxies drifting along gravitational currents like islands carried by tide. What makes Laniakea extraordinary is not merely its size, but the way it is defined. It has no sharp borders, yet all galaxies within it flow toward a single point, like raindrops sliding toward an invisible ocean. It is a beautiful image of connection. Rilke wrote in letters to a young poet, "Live your questions now, and perhaps even without knowing it, you will live along some distant day into your answers." Laniakea whispers this: we are not isolated. We are all moving together toward a point we do not yet understand. Life is the same. Everything you experience, no matter how scattered, is quietly guiding you to a place you cannot yet see. If Laniakea is our present home, then the Hyperion proto-supercluster is the universe's ancient diary, a distant, fragile draft of what the cosmos once was. More than 11 billion light-years away, Hyperion appears in a nearly primordial state. The universe was only 2 billion years old when this structure formed. It is massive yet loose, rough around the edges, like an embryo still gathering itself. Hyperion mirrors the farthest memories within us, things that shaped us but that we can't recall, early experiences the mind cannot store yet, which influence everything we do today. Carl Jung called this the collective unconscious and wrote in The Archetypes in the Collective Unconscious, "The most intense conflicts, if overcome, leave behind a sense of security and calm that is not easily disturbed." Hyperion, in its ancient rawness, reminds us every stable structure begins in chaos and conflict. Human beings are no different. We are not born whole. We are forged in upheavals, fractures, early tremors of life. These become the foundations on which we grow. To look at Hyperion is to gaze into the childhood of the universe and unintentionally into the childhood of ourselves. Farther still, we meet something so immense that even scientists must pause and reconsider the Hercules Corona Borealis Great Wall, a structure so massive it breaks the theoretical limits of cosmic uniformity. It is about 10 billion light-years long, meaning if you traveled at the speed of light, the universe's ultimate speed, it would take you 10 billion years to cross from one end to the other. It is so vast that many physicists believe it should not exist. According to standard cosmology, no structure should grow this large. And yet the Great Wall stands calm, indifferent, defying every rule. Much like the things in our lives we believed could never happen until they did, forcing us to rewrite our understanding of the world. Nietzsche wrote in Beyond Good and Evil, "And if you gaze long enough into an abyss, the abyss will gaze back into you." The Hercules Corona Borealis Great Wall is that abyss, a thing so large, so deep, so irrational that we must confront the limits of our knowledge. It instills a profound humility. Even our strongest theories are only temporary maps drawn on land far bigger than we imagined. To look upon the Great Wall is to understand a simple, powerful truth. The universe does not obey our expectations. It obeys itself. These three colossal structures, Laniakea Hyperion and the Hercules Corona Borealis Great Wall, are not merely objects floating in space. They are the universe's meditative layers. Laniakea teaches connection. We are all flowing toward a point unseen. Hyperion teaches origins. Chaos is the foundation of creation. The Great Wall teaches humility. Some truths lie forever beyond us. As you close your eyes, let these superstructures drift through your mind like great clouds across a night sky. They exist not to frighten you, but to lighten you, to remind you that beside such immensity, every fear, every worry, every expectation is only a small ripple. And in that vastness, you are allowed to breathe. You are allowed to release. You are allowed to curl inward and let sleep find you. After drifting past the universe's colossal structures, where Laniakea gathers more than 100,000 galaxies, where Hyperion preserves the ancient memory of a young cosmos, and where the Hercules Corona Borealis Great Wall stretches across 10 billion light-years, perhaps you feel yourself sinking into a very unusual state. A silence that is no longer empty, but has become a doorway. A doorway into the questions humanity has carried since the dawn of awareness. Standing before scales that surpass imagination, it becomes impossible not to wonder, if the universe is this vast, where does life arise and why does it arise? What is consciousness, this thing that observes the universe? These questions do not belong to science alone. They are questions of the heart, questions born of loneliness, longing, and our desire to feel connected. Tonight, in this soft space, we will let these questions drift like breath, needing no quick answers, only room to open. Panspermia suggests that microbes or the seeds of life might travel between worlds carried by meteorites, cosmic dust, or stellar winds. If this is true, then life is not an isolated earthbound miracle. It is a traveler. A small flame passed across impossible distances. Panspermia carries a deeply human feeling, perhaps life on Earth, and we ourselves are the result of a journey whose beginning no one remembers. Nietzsche wrote in The Gay Science, "There are no eternal facts as there are no absolute truths. If life can migrate from world to world, then we too are not absolutely of this place. We are merely a pause, a resting point in a much larger flow. And who knows? Somewhere in the long night of the universe, distant siblings of ours, other forms of life may be looking up at their sky and wondering the same." The shadow biosphere proposes that a second form of life could exist on Earth, a hidden biosphere with biochemistry utterly different from every organism we know. It might be beneath our feet, and we simply cannot see it yet. The shadow biosphere is not just a biological question. It is a question about the blind spots of perception. We often assume that what we cannot see does not exist. But the world has been wrong many times. Bacteria, electrons, radio waves, all were non-existent until we learned how to look. Jung wrote in The Undiscovered Self, "The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely." If a shadow biosphere exists here on Earth, then this metaphor becomes clearer than ever. We also have a parallel self within us, parts we have not touched, not recognized, not named. The universe is gently reminding us what you see is never the whole story. Life on Earth requires oxygen. but oxygen is merely one chemical choice among countless possibilities. Some scientists believe life could exist in atmospheres rich in hydrogen, an environment we once assumed impossible. Such organisms, if real, would breathe something meaningless to us, and this opens a beautiful reflection. What nourishes you may be poison to another. What another needs might not matter to you at all. Sometimes life is simply the ability to adapt to say yes to the conditions given without resistance. Camus wrote in The Myth of Sisyphus, "In order to understand the world, one has to turn away from it on occasion." Perhaps hydrogen-based life is whispering that same truth. To understand existence, we must occasionally step outside our own patterns. There are worlds like Europa Enceladus or distant icy exoplanets where oceans lie beneath tens of kilometers of ice. If life exists there, it would dwell in absolute darkness without sunlight. Yet it would have an entire world of water, a deep, quiet ocean where living things could evolve for billions of years without anyone in the cosmic surface ever knowing. The thought is both beautiful and sad. A civilization might thrive forever without ever seeing a sky. It would live in a self-enclosed world, deep and silent, like the heart of a meditating sage. Rilke wrote in Letters to a Young Poet, "The only journey is the one within." Those ocean worlds seem to have understood this truth from the beginning. They do not need a sky to feel alive. They do not need light to know they are moving. Perhaps they are teaching us another kind of existence, one that seeks no external illumination, but nurtures its own inner glow. Panspermia whispers about the journey of life. The shadow biosphere reminds us of the unseen parts of ourselves. Hydrogen-breathing life expands the boundaries of what is possible. Ocean worlds in darkness teach us about inner stillness. None of these ideas answer the question, where did life begin? Instead, they invite us to ask, what is life? What is consciousness? Why do we know we are alive? These questions have no final answers. But tonight, in this velvet soft quiet, you do not need answers. You only need to let the questions drift through you as softly as breath. For as Carl Sagan wrote in Cosmos, we are a way for the universe to know itself. As you close your eyes, feel that truth. You are not merely observing the universe, you are part of the way the universe observes itself. And as stillness spreads through your mind as your eyelids grow heavy, let these questions lull you into sleep as though the universe were sitting beside you, smiling softly, saying it's all right. You don't have to understand, you only have to feel. A feeling arises that life is only a small dot on the cosmic canvas, and that the canvas holds vast dark regions we have not yet named. In this threshold moment, as the mind becomes soft and wide like midnight water, we step into a different realm of contemplation where science no longer separates itself from philosophy, and where the questions of physics become questions about existence itself. A landscape of grand hypotheses. Hypotheses that may never be proven completely yet open doors through which we see ourselves more clearly. Baryon asymmetry. Why does the universe exist instead of canceling itself out right after the Big Bang? Matter and antimatter should have been created in equal amounts. Had that happened precisely, they would have annihilated each other instantly, leaving behind a universe empty and silent, without galaxies, without planets, without water or forests or consciousness, and without you. But for reasons still unknown to science, the universe favored matter just slightly, a tiny imbalance that gave rise to everything. The question, why does matter exist, becomes a philosophical question. Why do we exist? Why does consciousness arise at all in being and nothingness? Sartre wrote, "Nothingness lies coiled in the heart of being like a worm." Perhaps a small asymmetry, a cosmic flaw created all of existence, just as in each of us, it is often the cracks that allow the light to enter. Dark matter and dark energy, 95% of the universe is made of what we cannot see. When we look at the night sky, we feel as though we see so much. Yet the truth is the opposite. Every star, every nebula, every galaxy, all of it is only 5% of the universe. The remaining 95% is dark matter and dark energy, unseen, untouchable, unmapped by any sense we possess. If there is an idea in the cosmos that serves as a metaphor for human life, this is it. Most of what shapes us lies in the dark. Old memories, hidden wounds, quiet beliefs, they do not appear in visible form, yet they direct the motion of our lives. Rilke wrote in Letters to a Young Poet, "Live the questions now. Dark matter and dark energy are the questions the universe itself is living with, questions that require no immediate answers to continue functioning. Perhaps like the universe, we also carry dark regions, silent cavities, unlit corridors, and it is these unseen parts that hold everything together. Multiverse in many worlds. There may be countless parallel universes. The multiverse idea suggests that there might not be just one universe, but infinitely many, each with different physical laws, different histories, perhaps even different versions of you. In Hugh Everett's Many Worlds interpretation, every decision, every possibility, every unrealized outcome splits off into another universe where it did happen. The idea is beautiful and sorrowful. Beautiful because nothing is ever truly lost. Sorrowful because somewhere in a very distant universe you might be living the life you always wished for. Nietzsche wrote in Thus Spoke Zarathustra, "All truly great thoughts are conceived while walking." Perhaps the multiverse was born from a mind walking between science and longing between what we know and what we yearn to understand. The multiverse is not merely a question of physics. It is a reminder every choice matters. Every unwalked path still exists in some layer of our consciousness. Simulation hypothesis. What if everything is a simulation? Philosopher Nick Bostrom proposed that if a civilization could simulate an entire universe, then it is statistically more likely that we live inside such a simulation than in the original world. The idea feels distant yet strangely intuitive, because at times we ourselves sense that we are living inside something not entirely real, a loop, a script, a dream. In The Matrix, Morpheus asks, "What is real? How do you define real?" This is also the question of quantum physics, of existential philosophy, and of those quiet nights when you sit alone wondering, am I living this life or simply passing through it? The simulation hypothesis does not deny reality. It reminds us of something profoundly human. Reality is something we give meaning to, and consciousness is the tool through which we shape it. Boltzmann brains consciousness, arising from pure randomness. One of physics' strangest ideas, if time is infinite and particles can arrange themselves in every possible way, then a conscious brain, a mind aware of itself, could spontaneously form from random entropy. No planet, no life, no evolution. A single consciousness flickering into existence, then fading. This thought mirrors the deep loneliness of being human. Are we merely random awakenings in a vast, indifferent universe? Or is there something more in man's search for meaning? Viktor Frankl wrote, "Those who have a why to live can bear almost any how." Boltzmann brains have no why, but humans do. And sometimes that simple difference separates us from chaos. The quantum observer problem. Does the universe exist if no one looks? In quantum mechanics, particles exist in a superposition of states until they are observed. The question becomes haunting and beautiful. Does the universe take shape only when consciousness looks at it? If so, your existence is not passive. You are part of the way the universe becomes real. Carl Sagan wrote in Cosmos, "We are a way for the universe to know itself." Perhaps he touched the very truth that quantum physics is trying to say: the universe does not merely exist, it reflects itself through your eyes. Everything leads to one place. From baryon asymmetry to the shadowed realm of dark matter, from the multiverse to simulated realities, from accidental consciousness to the necessity of the observer, all these ideas point toward a single realization. The universe is not just where we live, it is a mirror for the deepest uncertainties within us. As you listen to these hypotheses in the gentle darkness of night, allow your mind to slow like a planet drifting through its orbit. You do not need to understand everything. No one can. Simply let these questions move through you like stars gliding quietly across the sky. And as you drift into sleep, remember you too are a hypothesis of the universe. A strange thing, a beautiful thing, a thing that cannot be repeated. As we close the previous part, where philosophical and cosmological hypotheses opened invisible doors into the nature of existence, into questions the human mind may never fully answer, perhaps a new layer of feeling has begun to rise within you. A feeling that the universe is not only vast, but alive. It does not sit still, like the still images printed in books. It breathes, it shifts, it erupts, it vanishes, and at times it sends us faint signals as if whispering, "I have always been here, even if you do not yet understand me." And within that motion, events unfold all around us in the nearby universe in this very era. while you are hearing these gentle words. Events both magnificent and fragile, reminding us that the universe is not merely the realm of distant theories, but a living presence, changing, unfolding, much like the consciousness within each of us. Eta Carinae, a star preparing for a magnificent ending. Eta Carinae. One of the strangest and most unstable stars ever observed stands at the threshold of a grand finale. Scientists believe it will one day explode as a hypernova, perhaps even producing a gamma-ray burst bright enough to be seen with the naked eye from Earth, despite being over 7,500 light-years away. In Eta Carinae, we feel the deep paradox of existence, the brighter, greater, more intense. Something is the more beautiful its ending becomes. Nietzsche wrote in Thus Spoke Zarathustra, "You must be ready to burn yourself in your own flame. How could you rise anew if you have not first become ashes?" Eta Carinae seems to embody this, completely burning to exhaustion, collapsing into its own ashes, and creating heavy elements, iron, gold, silver, the very materials that will someday form planets and life. Hearing about the death of a star, we often understand something new about how a human being learns to let go. Betelgeuse, a star exhaling its final breaths. Some stars die silently, some die in violent bursts, but Betelgeuse seems to be dying slowly in breaths of dimming and brightening light. In recent years, it has faded and re-brightened like a being gasping for air. Many astronomers believe it could collapse at any moment into one of the brightest supernovae humanity has ever seen. What is fascinating is that if it explodes, we will see it now, but the explosion actually occurred 600 years ago. The light is only just arriving. So it is with our lives. Many events we face today began long before we noticed them. Marcus Aurelius wrote in Meditations, "Time is like a river made up of the events which happen and a violent stream. For as soon as a thing has been seen, it is carried away and another comes in its place." Betelgeuse is the living example of that river of time, a single cosmic moment that helps us feel small and peaceful in the face of impermanence. Oumuamua and Borisov, visitors from the deep. In 2017, a long thin object moving unlike anything in our solar system swept past the sun. It was named Oumuamua, meaning a messenger from far away. 2 years later came another visitor, Borisov, a true interstellar comet. These objects are quiet reminders that the solar system is not isolated. We are always being visited, sometimes by ice and rock, sometimes by questions. Oumuamua fascinated scientists because it behaved unlike a comet, no outgassing, no familiar trajectory, and it accelerated in a strange way as if nudged by something unseen. Some researchers even wondered gently, cautiously, whether it could be a fragment of ancient technology from a vanished civilization. Carl Sagan wrote in Cosmos, "Extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. We do not have extraordinary evidence, but we do have extraordinary curiosity." And sometimes it is this curiosity that makes humanity a species capable of dreaming. The mystery of the vanishing stars. In recent decades, astronomers found something unsettling. Stars recorded in earlier sky surveys had simply disappeared. Not dimmed, not exploded, not drifted away, just gone. Vanished in ways no known physical model can explain. This mystery has opened the door to many hypotheses, from unknown types of stars to the possibility suggested by some SETI researchers that such disappearances might hint at star-shutting technologies, the work of civilizations approaching Type 2 on the Kardashev scale. Of course, these are only speculations, but they evoke a beautiful thought. Perhaps in the universe's dark expanses, there are silent civilizations sending no signals, seeking no contact, leaving behind only the trace of disappearance. Albert Camus wrote in The Myth of Sisyphus, "The universe is not unreasonable, but it has no pattern that we can understand." Perhaps this very ambiguity is what makes the night sky magical, like a book with missing chapters, a story that refuses to close, a universe that breathes. Eta Carinae prepares to burst. Betelgeuse exhales its fading breaths. Oumuamua and Borisov have passed through, leaving behind questions about whether we are truly alone. And the vanishing stars linger in our data like cryptic lines of cosmic poetry. All of these things are happening right now in a universe much closer than we imagine. As you close your eyes, imagine each of these phenomena as a breath of the cosmos, slow, deep, wide, and full of mystery. You do not need to decode them. You only need to listen. and allow your mind to drift into stillness like a small planet orbiting the single warm light at its center, the quiet desire for peace. As the shifting events of the nearby universe become the quiet, powerful breaths of space itself, perhaps a very gentle awareness is rising within you. The universe is not something distant. It moves with us, around us, and even within us. The impending eruption of Eta Carinae, the unsteady breaths of Betelgeuse, the visitors like Oumuamua and Borisov, and the stars that vanish without farewell, all of them feel like whispers from the sky, reminding us that we live inside a universe full of surprises. And now, instead of looking at one more phenomenon, we step back to see the larger picture, the message the entire cosmic journey has been trying to send us. A message that in the dim quiet of night can fill you with a deep, settling peace, as though you have just heard the universe breathing beside you. Human beings have always tried to describe the universe with equations, with theories, with digital maps. Yet every discovery reminds us of a simple truth. What we know is only the tip of an iceberg. There are planets made of diamond. There are supernovae that explode more than once, beating like a faulty heart. There are cosmic structures tens of billions of light years long, so immense that light itself needs millions of years to cross even a fraction of them. The universe seems to ask us, are you willing to admit how small your understanding truly is? In The Will to Power, Nietzsche wrote, "There are no facts, only interpretations," and science at its deepest level echoes that sentiment. Every truth we hold is only a temporary approximation of something far greater. In 1930, humanity discovered Pluto. Later, we realized the Kuiper Belt holds thousands of worlds. We discovered exoplanets, then discovered so many that we stopped counting. We learned they were more diverse than any old theory could handle. We found dark matter only for dark energy to appear and challenge everything again. Every answer, no matter how beautiful, behaves like a doorway opening into a larger, deeper, darker room. In The Almost Unknowable, Kierkegaard wrote, "Life is not a problem to be solved, but a reality to be experienced." Perhaps the universe is like that too, not a puzzle, but an experience, a journey where each new question stretches the heart a little wider. Many think cosmology is about the stars, but in truth, it is about us. We see Eta Carinae preparing to explode, and we recognize our own moments of collapse, moments that nearly destroy us, only to make us more whole. We see Betelgeuse dimming, and we understand the impermanence within our own lives. We see disappearing stars, and we think of people, memories, emotions that once shone brightly in us, then vanished without explanation. In Cosmos, Carl Sagan wrote, "We are a way for the universe to know itself." This is not a metaphor, it is a truth. Every time you gaze at the sky, the universe is using your eyes to understand itself. One of the most healing qualities the universe offers is that it makes us small, but not in a way that terrifies us, in a way that frees us. When you remember how tiny you are, you no longer have to carry every burden. You no longer need to explain everything or be perfect or control every outcome. The universe is so vast that human worries become soft specks of dust on a beam of light. In Walden, Henry David Thoreau wrote, "The universe is wider than our views of it. The universe is wider than what you fear, wider than what you believe you can endure, wider than the questions you do not yet have the courage to ask. From distant galaxies to the objects drifting past Earth, from catastrophic explosions to stars fading in silence, from abstract theories to the strange anomalies unfolding before our eyes. All of these remind us we have only understood a tiny fragment of the universe, and perhaps that is perfectly all right." In The Cloud of Unknowing, the anonymous medieval mystic wrote, "By love may he be gotten and holden, but by thought, never." We do not grasp the universe through intellect. We sense it through humility, through gratitude, through the simple act of looking up at the sky and smiling at what we do not know. The universe does not ask us to understand it. It asks us to listen to the silent explosions of supernovae, to listen to the footsteps of interstellar visitors, to listen to the fading of distant stars, and to listen to our own breath in the dark. As you lie down, let these mysteries drift around your mind like soft clouds across a night sky. You do not need answers. The universe itself has not found its answers. Just let everything drift, softly, deeply, peacefully, For within that vastness, within those endless questions, within the limits of human knowing, you too are part of the universe discovering itself. A small star, quiet, warm, and utterly irreplaceable. And now, as this long journey draws to its close, after you have walked past strange moons, mysterious galaxies, unresolved physical phenomena, icy worlds that may cradle life, hypotheses of multiverses, simulations, and consciousness, and the nearby stars breathing their final breaths, perhaps what remains in you is not knowledge, not numbers, not distances measured in light years, not the awe sparked by colossal cosmic structures. What remains is a gentle stillness, a stillness born from realizing that the universe is so vast, your worries are nothing more than soft grains of dust floating across the light of a new day. Rilke wrote in letters to a young poet, "Let everything happen to you, beauty and terror. Just keep going. No feeling is final." The universe you just traveled through, with hypernovae, with dark matter, with diamond planets, with galaxy walls that stretch into seeming infinity, is a testament to this truth. Everything happens. Everything changes. Nothing is final. Not even the universe is complete. It is still expanding, still unfolding, still asking questions it cannot fully answer, and you are just the same. You do not need to understand the whole universe. You only need to know that you have a place in it. When you look at the night sky, it's easy to feel small, but that smallness is a reminder that you are not meant to carry everything. You do not need to be strong all the time. You do not need to find every answer. In a world this wide, all you need to do is breathe and listen to your own heart. Carl Sagan once said, "Somewhere something incredible is waiting to be known. Perhaps that incredible thing lies in a distant galaxy. Perhaps it rests beneath the ice of a silent moon. Or perhaps, and this may be the truest answer, it lies within you. A fragment of awareness, a seed of peace, a capacity for love that no equation could ever describe. Sleep now. The universe will keep moving. It does not need you to stay awake to guard it. As you close your eyes, imagine yourself floating through a sea of stars where every question you've ever held sinks gently into the quiet darkness of space. Let each breath fall into rhythm with the breath of the universe itself. Slower, deeper, softer. You have traveled far. You have touched stories that even light took billions of years to bring to you. Now offer your mind a gift rest. In this pause, you are safe. In this pause, you are enough. In this pause, you are part of something vast, gentle, and eternal. And as you drift into sleep, remember that the entire universe is holding you in its boundless embrace. No rush, no noise. Only night, your own quiet breath, and a tender truth. You are not alone in the cosmos. The universe surrounds you and lives within you. Sleep well beneath a sky that never stops telling stories.